cards. Alright, Wildwalker. Is that what it's called? Wildwalker. 4 mana for 4/4, Battlecry, give a friendly beast +3 health. So there's like a ton of beast synergy coming up. It seems like they're not adding too much for Ramp Druid, or like I guess the standard mid-range combo Druid, but Druid's almost like some of the most exciting cards that come out. Like a lot, like Druid doesn't have too many new cards, but I think like all of them seem pretty good, and they're really pushing the beast kind of token Druid a lot. This is like another one that's kind of pushing that. If you actually get the Battlecry, how much is it worth? It'll be 4 mana for like 4/7 here. 4 mana 4/7 should be considered really good. If you compare it to Houndmaster, let's see, Houndmaster would be a 4 mana for a 6/5. 6/5 adds up to 11, 4/7 adds up to 11, but Houndmaster gives taunt as well. I guess you can't really expect them to make something as strong as Houndmaster, because that's like actually like the strongest buff card in the game. But this is it's pretty strong. I'm thinking it won't be that good. Like the numbers seem okay, but the +3 health is not as exciting as something like +2/+2, or even maybe like +3/+0. Just because if you're like these things, you usually want to use in smaller minions. Like the way that these battle cries work is like say you put it on a small beast because you want to curve out. Like small minions usually have problems trading up, not really trading down. Like giving 3 health on a 4-drop makes less sense, I think, like from a, not really from a design perspective, or from a power perspective. It's not as strong. So I guess like it's an alright card, definitely experimentable in Beast Druid, which is actually gonna probably be a thing. Alright, go to next card, 7 mana, 6/6 now Wild, another beast synergy. Whenever you summon beasts, reduce the cost of this card by 1. So I guess first thing to think about is like how much does that have to cost for it to be good. Something like a 4 or 3 sounds good for like something as situational as this, like a mountain giant type of card. So realistically you have to play like 4 beasts or 3 beasts. I think the cool thing is like whenever you summon a beast, it's not whenever you play a beast. I actually am a little bit hazy on the wording. Like I'm trying to think if you would get the buff from say playing something like Power of the Wild, even though it's kind of like like it's a beast, but I think it'll actually work. Even so, I guess it's not so big either way. I think it's another like okay card. Like the beast decks do need some like power spikes, something even like the volcanic lumber or something like that, where like if I guess like if you compare this to volcanic lumber, is it even better than volcanic lumber? Because a token deck has a lot of trading potential, and you do get like that power spike with volcanic lumber, and it seems like it's hard to actually play that many beasts where your Knight of the Wild would be really cheap. Mulch, 3 mana, destroy minion, add a random minion to your opponent's hand. So this is kind of like a naturalize in a way, except instead of drawing 2 cards, they get a random minion. Druids are lacking removal, and Druid removal has technically been pretty expensive. Yeah. So pure sand power all would work, and I that's what I kind of thought too. This is not really a mill type thing. In fact, like naturalize would make way more sense for mill because that draws from their deck. This is kind of just like a druid removal. Like they're kind of trying it out. Like I guess like opening up druid. Druid from like the design thing has been like strong minions ramp, but not much removal. That's why druids have relied on like BGH and things like that a lot. But I almost feel like the effect is still a little bit too weak. It doesn't seem strong in sap. It's definitely nowhere near the level of sap because like I guess you're adding a random minion, not the same minion, but sap is cheaper, and sap also destroys death rattles too. This doesn't get death rattles. Gives like Druid kind of another answer, but yeah. Bear Trap, 100 cards now. So 2 mana for Bear Trap, secret. After hero is attacked, summon 3/3 bear taunt. So the way I'm thinking of this word, it's not like Noble Sacrifice. This Bear Trap should not taunt the attack. It's just like, say you just get your hero attacked, you just get a 3/3 bear. That's all it is. Like the bear doesn't taunt whatever attacks it. I think this is quite powerful, honestly. Like, especially to consider like pulling stuff from Mad Scientist. Like, it's pretty ambiguous sometimes. It's like a nice little power. Like, sometimes it's not easy to use explosive and freezing. It definitely opens up more types of hunters, just because like explosive and freezing kind of are go well with like the current hunter lists. Bear Trap, like maybe it makes you be more of a play control hunter or mid-range hunters, things like that. Keep in mind, this is like not whenever a thing swings, it's like whenever a hero is attacked. Snake Trap is like whenever a minion is attacked, some 3/1/1s. It's like kind of similar power level to Snake Trap in some ways, but it's like a different trigger activation, which is actually pretty good for mind games. Like a lot of times you're playing around Snake Trap explosive, having another trap like Bear Trap, especially since like this can actually lead to some really like insane mind games, just because the 3/3 beast also has taunt, right? So what does that mean with like explosive in a way? Because sometimes like say you have some 1/1s, like you don't have enough power to kill a 3/3. It's almost like Mal'Ganis in the sense that you want to get all your damage in before triggering the bear, but you might mess it up somehow. I guess it's hero attacked. I did think about it a lot more, but it's definitely interesting. I think it's definitely maybe a competitive card, and definitely think about using just because of synergy with other secrets as far as mind games and mad scientists. Mathematically, the card doesn't seem weak as well. Getting a 3/3 bear with taunt seems very similar to Snake Trap. King's Elekk. This is a 2 mana 3/2, fairly standard stats. It's such a good beast. Battlecry with real minion each deck. If yours costs more, draw it. So this is clearly like aimed towards like some bigger hunter decks. The issue, I mean, not really the issue. The interesting thing here is that a lot of people talk about like what percentage of your jousts have to. This is a joust, so what percentage of your jousts have to win for it to be good? I'd say like for this card, maybe even not many. Like even quote unquote control hunters or slower hunters are probably still going to have say smaller mana curves than other control decks. The thing is like 2 mana for 3/2 is like very cheap. It's not bad. Like the thing is, even if you lose a joust, it's a 2 mana for 3/2 base, so the joust almost costing you nothing. Now technically, and like with all the power creep going on, and kind of a power creep, 2 mana for 3/2 turns out to not even be that good anymore. It used to be alright. It is a beast as well, but again, I'd say like if you're winning 50% of jousts, this is like quite powerful. It's just competing with things like Knife Juggler and Mad Scientist and Creeper, which are I guess like just super locked down in the current hunter list. Like they're like actually in every list. Maybe if you can make a deck that doesn't run one of them or something. I feel like the biggest problem with this card is like it's competing in this slot similar to other decks and as other cards, and they did that with a lot of stuff, so which is smart. Powershot, 3 mana spell, deal 2 damage to a minion and the minion's next to it. So this is basically the same thing as, not the same thing, it's like an explosive shot except cheaper, and it doesn't do 5 and 2/2. It does like 2 to everything. I'd like to think that it's itemized a little bit better, especially with things like lock and load. Paying 2 more mana to deal 3 more damage to 1 minion, it's kind of alright. It's like kind of like similar power curve. It's just like for an AoE effect, it's nice. Your best case scenario is Powershot is like similar to Force Nature Clear in the sense that it does 2 damage to 3 things. But Force Nature's main strength isn't board clear, but this is like way cheaper. Has similar implications to Explosive Shot, whereas Explosive deals everything, but like Powershot, or Explosive Trap, sorry, but Powershot is like, you can play around Explosive Trap and you can't really play around Powershot. Although kind of you can, actually. Looks to me not too exciting. Stablemaster, 3 mana, 4/2, BGH stats, Battlecry, give a friendly beast immune this turn. So I guess like the issue here is that hunters go face. Alright, giving beasts immune, the only use of that is for trading. I mean, they're clearly pushing a more control-oriented hunter, but it's like, in order for this like 4/2 stats to be good, and also like control decks tend to go for more like 3/5 stats or 2/4 stats, and also you still need board control to use Stablemaster. It's not technically a control card as far as more maybe like mid-range or tempo goes, but I don't know. I mean, the hunter cards for having a beast like Houndmaster are already insane. I would say that this is like nowhere near as good as Houndmaster. Like if you're actually even going mid-range hunter, say you just want to like get a benefit for having a beast, you'd much rather use Houndmaster. Houndmaster's actually crazy good compared to this. I think it's pretty underwhelming. Dreadscale, 3 mana for 4/2 beast. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all minions. So it's kind of like a control card again, where like you play it, and it's kind of like Baron-Geddon in a way, right? Like a small Baron-Geddon, but that's typically not an effect the hunter wants. And again, like control decks need minions like 2/4 and 3/5, things like that. I mean, they're clearly making control hunter be like kind of like a combination between like having a lot of like spells and removal, like explosive shot and what's it called, power shot, and like more effects like this, like Dreadscale, while like being able to say do a lot of damage, like just keep chipping people down with hero power, like more like a reverse warrior in a way, where warrior just keeps healing as they control your hunter, keeps like trying to kill you as they control you in a way. So it's kind of like a tempo thing as well, but it seems very awkward at best. Acidmaw, whenever another minion takes damage, destroy it. 7 mana for 4/2. This is like so much more expensive. The stats on this is just like so bad. It has a lot of synergy with Unleash the Hounds for 10 mana. Technically, you can unleash clear everything or something, but that's 10 mana. I just think this is, it seems way off, like the numbers. It's just not even close. 7 mana for a 4/2. Like, I don't even know if you'd pay. It's almost like they're, it's almost like the buy is like nothing, and you're paying 5 mana for the effect whenever another minion takes damage, destroy it. It's not even enemy minions. It's just other minions, like anything. I don't think it's good. I think this actually is like really bad. Wrangler. I haven't reviewed this one yet, and I kind of want to talk about it just because it follows kind of the same track of what I've been talking about with Houndmaster. A lot of people have been saying this is pretty good. Whereas I don't think this is actually very good, Wrangler. Like, yeah, you get a very wide variety of beasts, and you can totally blow people out with, say, getting a high main here. But you can almost play high main for 6 mana. Like, you're only getting a 3/3 body and 1 less mana, and it's completely random, and you have to have a beast as well. Like, I almost think this is, like, more of, like, the fizzle bang design, where it's more like for, say, more casual players, a more fun thing. It's not like a competitively costed, like, unstable portal type card randomness. Because, again, like I saw a thread, but it's kind of like, quote-unquote, bad design when portals, like, kind of find a way, because you're still, like, no matter what minion you get, you still have to pay for it. It's not just randomly summon a minion, right? Like, portal would be pretty bad design. It feels like competitively costed and, like, just randomly summon a minion. Because then, like, if you get a Ysera compared to, like, a bad minion, like a Raging Worgen, you actually just get it for free. The thing here is, like, I'm making the similar comparison to Houndmaster. It's actually pretty expensive for a hunter to have a beast, especially since this is not a beast itself. If you think about, like, Houndmaster, right? Like, how good is Houndmaster compared to this? You're paying 1 less mana for +1 attack and +2/+2. Like, you're getting so much. I feel like if you want to, like, just have to have a beast, like, you might as well use Houndmaster. It is, like, on average well costed, but I'm saying, like, it's like having this effect if you have a beast is not a cheap thing to have. I think too many people are, like, thinking about this as just Battlecry summoning a random beast, which it's, like, so different. Like, how sick would Houndmaster be if it's just like Battlecry, give a minion +2/+2? It's like, it's actually pretty expensive for Hunter to have beasts with the type of weakness of Hunter, kind of. I'm feeling like this is, like, kind of like a more fun card. I don't think it's super competitive. 3 mana for 2, like, 3/3s. You can't just, like, add, like, the average beast is about 3.5 plus 3.5. In fact, you wouldn't even really pay 5 mana for a 3/3 and a 4/4. What's another card that I can kind of compare it to? I know there's a vanilla card in the set that's 5 mana for a 4/4 and a 2/2. I kind of forgot the name of it. Something like a Paladin or something. It's a neutral card. Like, you know what I mean? Even if you get a 4/4, it's barely better than that, and you have to have a beast. So, yeah, don't think it's that great either. Dalaran, aspirant, 4 mana for a 3/5, inspired, gaining spell damage. So the spell damage just assumably is on this minion. This, I feel, is a little bit too slow. 3/5s don't really cut it on 4 anymore. Even Yeti's 4/5s don't cut it. It seems very slow to build up. And a spell damage realistically worth maybe 1 power on minions from before. Like, if you think about, how good, like, say, would you rather have 4/4 or 4/5? Like, 4/4 with spell power, 4/5, it's pretty close. Like Ogre Magi to Chillwind Yeti, things like that. It's mostly worth around one stat. I don't think anyone would be. This wouldn't be too exciting if it'll say gain +1 attack or +1 health. Gain +1 spell damage doesn't seem terribly exciting to me either. Mage, ironically, doesn't actually scale that well with spell damage. That's why, like, a lot of the new Mage things are scaling with spell casts, like number of spell casts, like Flamewaker, and kind of like Sorcerer Apprentice in a way. Polymorph Boar, interesting. This is obviously really interesting, having a second Polymorph. 3 mana Polymorph, except it's basically costs 1 more mana, but it transforms a minion into a 4/2 boar with charge. So again, it's not, maybe not a but, it's a different thing. Like, the thing about Polymorph Boar is it can be used as quote-unquote a burn spell sometimes if you have minions. It's, like, more flexible in the sense that you can polymorph your own stuff, but you can't polymorph ping, and you're giving them a huffer, which, it's not bad, because giving a minion charge on their turn is like not a charge, and 4/2 is quite easy to trade with. I love the design in this a lot actually, because it's like so flexible in a way. Like you can give like a control deck some burn. Like oftentimes like control mages aren't even using fireball anymore, but they are using polymorph, and it's like you can turn your polymorph boars into some face damage. I think it's quite cool, and it's definitely a contender for being used. If someone can figure out like a good deck for this, there's like some say value of like running this in aggro mage where you can get through taunts and kill them, or just deal with the 4/2 pretty easily on your turn, or like attack with your minion and then polymorph to boar. It's like 3 mana for 4 damage. Not too great, but it's very flexible as a thing. The problem with polymorph is it's not flexible, right? Because say you're running control mage, you run 2 polymorphs. It feels awful to get polymorph against face hunter and things like that. Like there's some matches where polymorph is actually just so bad, but you still kind of want them. Arcane Blast, 1 mana, deal 2 damage to a minion. This spell gets double bonus from spell damage. I'm valuing this card as like going on like very low. I've thought about this card a decent amount. Arcane Blast. The thing about Arcane Blast is, like, if you think that this spell even gets good bonus from spell damage, it's not true. I kind of feel, because spell damage, kind of like by definition, is a lot better on AoE spells, right? Like I can understand this being really good if, say, you play this in Malygos and you just kill them with spell damage, which obviously that's why they made it like this. But stacking a lot of spell damage and burning a minion is like, it's going through too much trouble to just burn a minion out. Like if you have a lot of spell damage, things like Arcane Explosion, for example, scales better, right? I mean, you're getting +1 damage from... Sorry, you're getting +2 from every spell damage on this kind of thing. But for a card like Swipe, you're maybe even getting like +4 or 5 damage. For a card like Arcane Explosion, you're probably getting like something similar to that, like, you know, because it's AoE. So I don't even feel like the scales super well with spell damage compared to actual AoE spells. And I was gonna say, you know, like at first I thought I was like, at least it's strictly better at Arcane Shot, but it's not, because it doesn't hit face either. So I don't really think Mage needs more like single target minion removal. That's super situational, especially compared to, let's say, like Flame Cannon, which is like a high powered spell, only hits minions as well, giving it a pretty low evaluation. Okay, Rhonin, 8 mana for 7/7 Death Rattle. This is like a super cool card, Rhonin and Varian. 8 mana, 7/7 Death Rattle, summon 3, gain, I guess, like draw 3 arcane missiles or whatever. It doesn't draw technically, it just adds it to your hand. I guess like it's kind of easy to compare this to like Ragnaros in a way. Like you kind of guarantee, quote, maybe not guarantee because Death Rattle, but you kind of guarantee that you get that 9 pings in a way. It's kind of ambiguous whether after the first turn Rag is better as 8/8 vanilla minion or 8/8 with the Ragnaros effect. That's why you almost never see anyone silence Rag. It's like the Ragnaros, the main thing about it is that first turn it has charge, right? Like King Crush probably is better than Rag if King Crush is 8 mana. So that's like leading me to believe that Rag like only matters that first turn. Other than that, it's actually probably better, other than against Freeze Mage, as like a vanilla 8/8. So again, it's like similar mathematical power to Rag in a way. It's slower in the sense that it's a death rattle, but you can build a lot more around it, just because when you're adding 3 copies of Arcane Missiles to your hand, you can play cards with very high synergy with Arcane Missiles. I'm very excited to see, actually, there's 2 main synergies I'm thinking with this. It's one with Flamewaker, and the second one should be with Malygos. Because normally you don't want to play Arcane Missiles in like maybe a Malygos control deck. It's just the individual card is too weak. But if you just tack 3 on like a Rhonin, it's pretty easy to get in. That could be pretty crazy with Emperor. I'm gonna say like this kind of makes more sense in like a tempo mage. And one thing that you could do with Rhonin in a tempo mage is play a slower tempo mage with Flame Strike, a little bit more card draw, or maybe tempo mage is all fine. It's a tempo mage all runs pretty much like 2 arcane intellects anyways, maybe like 2 azure drakes. Just play like a little slower tempo mage, not like something like a control mage where you're running heal bots and stuff. I think Rhonin makes the most sense in a kind of like a more aggressively oriented tempo mage as like another, say, like another win condition, kind of like Archmage and maybe like Archmage and Emperor. It actually has a lot of synergy with Archmage as well. That's actually really cool. I honestly think Rhonin makes more sense in a more aggressively oriented deck than a control deck. Arcane Missiles makes more sense when you don't mind the missiles going face. If you're running it in like a grinder control deck with Chaz and stuff, the face damage of missiles becomes not so good either, and it's very inconsistent. Whereas an aggro deck, you just don't care, like just kill everything as much damage as possible. Kind of, I like it. It's a really cool card. Seal of Champions, 3 mana, give a minion +3 attack and Divine Shield. This card seems very strong. It seems almost to me on the level of Velen's Chosen and Blessing of Kings and stuff. Because giving a minion +3 attack and Divine Shield together have so much synergy. Like, if you think about, like, say Seal Champions, right? Imagine it feels like a True Silver, like 4, give a minion +4 attack and Divine Shield. Is that even worse than giving a minion +4/+4? Like, with how it works out, oftentimes it becomes very similar when you're trading up, like a Divine Shield compared to the 4 extra health or something. I feel like this is actually flexible. It's not just like for, say, Paladin, but it's like actually good on like mid-range Paladin as well. And to me, like, I guess like it almost seems like this is like maybe what Call Hammer could have been, but not quite. Just because like the problem I have with Call Hammer is that against a lot of decks, the weapon becomes insignificant. Like, say you can use Seal Champion as board development, whereas you can't really use Call Hammer as board development. Like, say you're playing against Druid and you play like turn 2 Juggler or whatever, and turn 3 you don't have anything to do. You don't even feel that good about playing Call Hammer because the weapon, it becomes insignificant. Whereas this is all tacked onto the minion. It's like you don't feel like you're wasting the weapon. Weapons only make more sense in these like decks if they actually provide like real presence, like on attacking other minions, for example. It seems pretty strong. One thing is Paladin have a lot of 3s though, so they tacked on another strong effect on 3 kind of, I feel. I don't feel like this might be really strong, I feel. Probably on the level of Velen's Chosen. Murloc Knight. 4 mana for a 3/4 Inspire, summon a random Murloc. I guess the cool thing about Murlocs is it's not that RNG. Most Murlocs are kind of the same. There's not like 10 mana Murloc. They're all like 1 to 4, kind of like weak little things. It doesn't feel to me that this is very strong. It's kind of a cool card though, because 3 mana for 4/3 is really bad. Even if you get like 1 Murloc, it might become like slightly more than break even, but it's hard to actually play it on turn 4. It's hard for Paladin to have a Murloc shell as well. Most Murlocs are maybe like 2/2 or something. If you add +2/+2 to the stats, it's like a 5/6, but again, you have to play on turn 6 or something. Because 4 is actually pretty weak. Like, there's a lot of 4s in Hearthstone. Mainly Swipe, True Silver Champion, Deathbite. They're like super, like having that's why like 5 is a big breakpoint right now. Competitive Spirit, Secret, when your turn starts, give your minions +1/+1. At first, this card was like super confusing me. I wasn't even sure what's going on here. My interpretation right now is that it's just like at the start of your turn, it just triggers once and then gives all your minions +1/+1. Even though secrets can't really trigger on your turn, it seems like this one just would trigger on your turn at the very start of like the first turn or the next turn, that after you play the secret. It's cool in the sense that, I mean, anytime a secret is printed, it's relevant, right? Like, secrets are never irrelevant cards, just because every time a secret is printed, you have to start playing around that secret and thinking about it. Oh, it won't activate without cards on your side. Interesting. That makes it better. I think it's like close to like Avenge levels. It maybe makes it so that you could play Mad Scientist in Paladin, since like really the only good secret for Paladin right now is Avenge. Like all the vanilla Paladin secrets were quite bad. Eye for an Eye like provides no board control. Things like a Noble Sack is just a little bit too weak, I think. Competitive Spirit and Avenge are two, I guess, like quite strong secrets when you start adding all the numbers up, and maybe this can push Mad Scientist into the Paladin deck, some of the Paladin decks. 6 mana for 6/6 Battlecry, put one of each secret from your deck in the battlefield. So this is kind of weird in the sense that, like, yeah, it seems like a crazy Mad Scientist, but it almost seems like maybe a lot worse than Mad Scientist as well, because it takes, like, Mad Scientist, you need like 2 to 3 secrets in a deck to use it, and this one, like, how many secrets do you need? Like, if you start putting like 6-7 secrets, it makes your deck consistency really bad as far as like other things go. And it's like, this is played on turn 6. Mad Scientist you can play early and kind of like mill them out of your deck. This like becomes pretty late, but it's a Battlecry, not a Death Rattle. That's a lot better. I thought it was a Death Rattle. I was gonna say it's not very good, but if it's actually a Battlecry, I feel like maybe you just don't put that many secrets in. Like, maybe you put like 4 secrets in, for example, like 1 of each, or like a good mix. Like, obviously this card promotes you having a mix of secrets, not like 2 Avenges and 2 Competitive Spirits. Maybe you want like like a nice mix, and it could go pretty well. 6 mana for 6 is not too underpowered. This is a card that's really easy to break, right? Because anything that's like just free value, it's like almost like Dr. Boom in the sense that it's actually like stronger than Dr. Boom if you get like 2 secrets out. 6 mana for 6/6 Baron, 7 mana for 7/7. Each boom bot is weaker than a secret probably, but it almost is on that power level of Dr. Boom. It's just like it's way more expensive to add to your deck. So I'm a little bit hesitant to just like give it just like the finger and say it's not good. Because when it actually works, it can actually be like on Dr. Boom levels of power. It's expensive investment. So it's definitely interesting. Enter the Coliseum. 6 mana. Destroy all minions except each player's highest attacker minion. Control Paladin card again. They have a lot of Control Paladin cards. Not too much buffs to mid-range Paladin. A little bit salty about that, but definitely doesn't make sense for like a mid-range Paladin when you have a lot of minions. It makes more sense when it has a lot of synergy with the new legendary that Paladin has, Edric the Pure, something like that with Pyromancer equality. Definitely like a Healadin kind of style. It's kind of like a board clear. I feel like Paladin's not lacking board clear though, and this is still probably not as good as Brawl if you think about it, because Brawl kind of destroys all minions, but they're not always, like, the highest attack one's not always winning, right? Like, Brawl's random. The highest attack minion winning is not good, I feel. Although the cool thing about Enter Coliseum is if you have one minion and they have a whole board, Brawl kind of sucks in the sense that you're probably going to lose your Rag. Like, that's why when you play Paladin against Rag with Warrior, you can just say Muster Quartermaster and go face, ignore Rag. If they Brawl, they're probably going to lose their Rag anyways. This is like a whole nother dynamic where you wouldn't be able to do that, because you'd lose pretty much your whole board, and they'd still keep their big minion. Powered Glory. Choose a minion whenever attacks, restore 4 health to your hero. It's like a pacifier, right? If you put this on any enemy minion that's less than 4 health or 4 attack, it's almost like they can't attack anymore. Like, there's no point in them attacking anymore. Whether that's good or bad, these types of effects have generally been pretty weak, honestly. Just because, like, sure, they can just not attack, you're still spending a mana. If they really need to attack, like, to kill your minion or whatever, like trade, they still can. I feel like it's not too exciting. Paladins have something like this where they draw a card every time. That's not really used. Draw a card for restore 4 health is maybe kind of similar. It's definitely not going to be used in Arena, because Arena, the 4 health doesn't matter. Arena is too, like, tradey, right? So they could just trade and restore 4 health once, but cash in their minion. I don't think this is very good. Convert. Put a copy of an enemy minion into your hand. So you basically just, like, draw the card, kind of. Like, this card changes into another card. It's kind of hard to say. It's like tutor effects can get really scary, but it's not a real tutor effect. And it's only enemy minion in your hand. If you just want to go for like big value games, you can run Thoughtsteal, and this doesn't have any immediate impact, and you can't use it on your own minions, which is actually really important, because like you can build synergy around stuff that you can do on your own minions, but you can't really build synergy on this. You can kind of just like maybe it's another Pyromancer kind of trigger for synergy, and also I have to see, but I don't feel I'm super excited about it. Wyrmrest Agent. Battlecry. For holding a dragon, gain +1 attack taunt. So it's a 1/4, it turns into a 2/5 with taunt. And it's not a dragon itself, which is really important. Sorry, 2/4 with taunt. A lot of people like Armorsmith. I love Armorsmith too. I guess it shouldn't be on the power of Armorsmith. It does not seem as strong as the Alexstrasza champion. Like, Alexstrasza champion is 2/3 is probably better than 2/4 or 1/4, and then the effect seems way stronger for having a dragon. Now, as more and more dragons come out, it's like much easier to be holding a dragon. And I do think this is strong, actually, for a dragon priest. Especially if you think about all the new dragons that's come out. There's quite a bit. I'll probably be reviewing them in a second here. It seems like this effect is getting cheaper and cheaper to have. And a 2/4 taunt is quite strong. So you can actually play like a tempo board control priest soon with like dragons, which is kind of what dragon priest already is, like more of a tempo priest. And priests have a lot of strong buffs, like Velen's Shows and Powered Shield. I'm actually pretty excited about this. It seems very strong, and it's like a staple of that mana curve for priests. Because if you think about it, priest doesn't actually have any 2-drops very good. Like, if you want to play Pyromancer in turn 2, it's weird. Like, priest has a lot of 1s and then like 3s. 2s is kind of weird for priest. And this is actually really cool. This is like a strong 2. I did not say Alexstrasza Champion is a bad card. It's like one of the top 3 cards of that like 12 card set I reviewed. I said that was really strong, actually. Spawn of Shadows, 4 mana, 5/4, inspired, deal 4 damage to each hero. So this card actually has a lot of potential in the sense that, This effect is actually extremely strong in an aggressive deck. In Hearthstone, not so much, I guess. In other card games, it'd be extremely strong. It's just like in Hearthstone, even aggro decks worry about their own health or against other aggro decks. 5 mana, 5/4. I mean, this thing can kill you so fast, right? It just costs you a lot. Like, you're dealing 4 damage to yourself as well. Always weird. Like this kind of like the master of damage and healing kind of priest with a shadow form and like the one shadow bomber and stuff. I feel like it's too hard to use, but it's cool. Shadowfiend. Whenever you draw a card, this costs by 1. I feel like this is like what Emperor should have been, right? It's like it's a cool effect. It's really cool, and it's not like the minion itself's not too undercosted. It's definitely nowhere on the same power level as Emperor. It's kind of like a combo type thing, especially as a priest, where you can draw a lot of cards in one turn, like combo a lot of cards in one turn with like Northshire and Circle healing and things like that. But priests do have a very strong curve on 3, and the effect is kind of weak, honestly. It's just not too much potential to break decks, not like Emperor, because there's like no guarantee that you get the value. Emperor is like so easy to get like 7 cards. Here it's like you're fighting your way to even get 1 cost reduced. So like yeah, you can combo with your combos, but again, that's pretty expensive. And you have to combo with your cleric turn too. Your mana is expensive on that turn. I'm trying to think, like, because there have been Mind Blast priests popping up, and there's Flash Heal for those kind of things, like the really combo oriented priests. But I'm not sure if this could go in. Like, say instead of using Shadowfiend, you should use like more card draw, like Acolyte of Pain or Thoughtsteal. And those combo decks typically really need draw effects as well to thin out their deck and to have stuff to do. Kind of like Emperor. Oh, this is interesting. Confessor Paletress, 7 mana, 5/4. Body's really weak. Inspire summon a random legendary minion. So this is where the power's at. The Inspire effect. It's really swingy, but you know, again, like if a card can be swingy on 7 mana, that's like not what I mind really. It's because it's like it's kind of like Sneeds, right? Sneeds doesn't break the game because Sneeds is so expensive to begin with, right? It's not like a one like coming out in turn 3 summoning random legendary minions. I don't really mind this. I think it's kind of cool. Summon a random legendary minion turn 9. Realistically, you get a heal random legendary minion. Let's say it's average like 5/5. On turn 9 you get a 5/4 and a 5/5. How much power is that? 10, 19 power on turn 9 with a heal. How much power is Dr. Boom? Not that quite strong, but you can use it multiple times. I feel like that's unlike a strat because a priest. Like priest doesn't get board control a lot, and if you do get board control, like it's like kind of hard to play this card from behind. And if you do get board control, you're so good at snowballing board control anyways. I'm not rating it super high, honestly.